Pregnant in the rain with no money begged to be let in. The millionaire behind her did something. The rain pounded New York City that Tuesday night as Amber Williams found herself desperate in front of the Regency Plaza's doors. 8 months pregnant, soaked and shivering, she begged the security guard to let her into the luxurious lobby, even if just to take shelter from the seemingly endless storm. "Please, sir, just until the rain stops," Amber pleaded, her protective hands resting on her swollen belly. "I won't bother anyone, I promise." The security guard, a burly man in an impeccable uniform, pushed her away from the main entrance. "I already told you you can't stay here. This is a 5-star hotel, not a shelter for the homeless. Go to the city hall if you need help." "I'm not homeless," Amber protested, trying to maintain her dignity despite being drenched. "I just need a place to get out of the rain." Behind the glass doors, some guests began to gather, watching the scene, some even snapping pictures with their phones. The humiliation burned Amber's cheeks as much as the cold rain chilled her bones. On the other side of the lobby, leaning near the elevators, Michael Richardson watched silently. The 42-year-old businessman had just returned from a meeting when he witnessed the scene. Something about it unsettled him deeply, stirring memories he'd rather keep buried. "Sir, you're disturbing our guests," the guard continued, raising his voice. "If you don't leave willingly, I'll have to call the police." Amber felt her legs weaken. She had walked over 3 miles after the bus she was taking home from work broke down on the FDR drive. Her purse had been stolen 3 days earlier, along with the money for her fare home. The little she earned as a cleaner barely covered her medical visits and prenatal vitamins. "I work, sir," she tried again. "I just don't have money for the bus. If you let me stay here until morning, I promise I'll leave early." "That's what they all say," the guard scoffed. "Tomorrow you'll say you missed another bus and ask to stay another day. I know these stories." Michael's chest tightened. The desperate voice of the pregnant woman echoed in his mind like a painful reminder of the past. He remembered his own mother, Dorothy, telling him how she'd been humiliated in similar situations when he was a child, after his father abandoned them. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, back to the story. The storm seemed to grow stronger by the minute. Lightning split the dark New York sky as Amber tried to shield herself under the small awning by the entrance. Her clothes were soaked, clinging to her body and making her pregnant belly even more visible. "My baby's moving so much," she murmured, rubbing her belly with tenderness and worry. "I think he can tell I'm nervous." An elderly guest watching from inside the lobby approached the glass doors and gestured to the guard. "Dwayne, let the poor girl in. Look how soaked she is." "Mrs. Thompson, you know the hotel's rules," replied the guard, named Dwayne. "If we start making exceptions, we'll have a line of beggars at the door." "What kind of rules are these?" the woman asked indignantly. "Since when is helping a pregnant woman in the rain a crime?" Michael watched it all, torn between the urge to help and the scars of the past that made him wary. He'd been deceived before by people who took advantage of his kindness. His ex-wife, Jessica, had used his generous nature to manipulate him for years, until he discovered she was embezzling money from his company to support her lover. Amber began feeling a sharp pain in her side. The stress of the situation, combined with the cold and exhaustion, was affecting her pregnancy. She leaned against the wall, trying to take deep breaths as she'd learned in her Medicaid prenatal classes. "Oh my God," she groaned softly, bending slightly. The security guard noticed and looked visibly concerned. As tough as he was, he didn't want any trouble if something happened to the woman at the hotel entrance. "Look, ma'am, I can't let you inside, but I can call a cab or an ambulance if you're feeling unwell." "I don't have money for a cab," Amber replied, trying to control the pain. "And it's not a medical emergency, it's just the rain and the cold." That's when Michael couldn't stay still any longer. He approached the doors and signaled for Dwayne to open them. "Everything all right here?" he asked, stepping under the awning. Amber looked at him, noticing the expensive suit and the posture of someone who had money. She felt even more embarrassed by her wet and humble appearance. "I'm fine, sir," she replied, trying to straighten up. "I'm just waiting for the rain to let up." Michael studied her for a few seconds. She was young, probably in her early 20s, with dark brown hair plastered to her face by the rain and green eyes that, despite exhaustion, held an impressive dignity. She didn't seem like a scammer, but he'd thought the same about Jessica before. "Dwayne, she can wait in the lobby until the rain stops," Michael said firmly. "Mr. Richardson, you know the policy." "I'll take responsibility," Michael cut in. "If there's any issue, you can hold me accountable." Amber looked at him with a mix of gratitude and surprise. "Thank you, sir. I promise I won't cause any trouble." "No need to promise anything," Michael replied, watching her shiver. "Let's get you inside before you get even wetter." Dwayne reluctantly opened the door, and Amber stepped into the luxurious lobby, leaving a small trail of water on the polished marble floor. A few guests glanced at her with curiosity, while others showed clear disapproval. "Do you have a towel she can use?" Michael asked the receptionist. "Of course, Mr. Richardson," the young woman replied, quickly fetching a clean towel. Amber accepted it gratefully and began drying her face and hair. The contrast between the cold outside and the warmth of the lobby made her feel even dizzier. "Are you all right?" Michael asked, noticing her paleness. "I'm fine," Amber lied. "Just a little tired." Michael gestured to an armchair in the corner of the lobby. "Why don't you sit for a while? It'll take time for the rain to stop." Amber hesitated. She was used to distrusting men who were overly kind, especially wealthy ones. Her experience with her baby's father had taught her that initial interest didn't always mean good intentions. "I don't want to inconvenience you," she said. "You're not inconveniencing me," Michael replied. "I was just waiting for my driver anyway." She carefully sat on the leather armchair, feeling out of place in such opulence. The Regency Plaza's lobby was decorated with expensive furniture, crystal chandeliers, and artwork on the walls. Amber had never been anywhere so elegant. Michael stood nearby, still observing her. There was something about this woman that intrigued him, not just her vulnerability, but the way she carried herself, despite being visibly shaken. "How far along are you?" he asked, trying to make conversation. 8 months, Amber replied, rubbing her belly. "Almost due. Is this your first child?" Amber hesitated before answering. The question touched on a wound that was still fresh. "No," she said softly. "I had another baby before, but—" Her voice caught. It didn't work out. Michael realized he had stumbled onto a sensitive topic and quickly changed the subject. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to pry." "It's okay," she murmured. An awkward silence settled between them. Michael wasn't quite sure why he had decided to help. Normally, he would have walked right past situations like this, but something about that night felt different. "Do you work at the hotel?" Amber asked, breaking the silence. "No," Michael replied. "I'm staying here temporarily. My apartment is being renovated." It was a half-truth. He was indeed at the hotel, but not because of renovations. Michael had been living there for 2 months because he couldn't bear to stay in the apartment he had shared with Jessica. The memories of her betrayal were too painful. "Must be expensive," Amber remarked. "It is," Michael admitted. Another uncomfortable pause. Amber shifted in the chair, trying to find a more comfortable position for her heavy belly. "Where do you work?" Michael asked. "I clean offices downtown," she replied. "I work for myself." "And today, were you coming back from work when the bus broke down?" "Yes," Amber confirmed. "It was on the FDR Drive. The driver said it would take forever for a tow truck, so I decided to walk. I didn't think it would rain like this." Michael mentally calculated the distance. She had walked over 3 miles, 8 months pregnant. The woman's determination was impressive. "Wasn't it dangerous walking alone at night?" "I know the way well," Amber said, "and I didn't have a choice. I can't afford a taxi." The raw honesty of her answer struck Michael. He spent more in one night at the hotel than she probably made in a month. Just then, Michael's phone rang. It was Robert, his driver. "Mr. Richardson, I won't be able to make it tonight. The rain has flooded several streets, and traffic is completely stopped." "Got it," Michael replied. "No problem, I'll stay here tonight." After hanging up, he glanced at Amber, who had overheard the conversation. "Looks like no one's leaving here tonight," he said. The rain really is coming down hard, she agreed, looking at the windows where water streamed heavily. Do you have somewhere to stay tonight? Amber hesitated again. The truth was, she lived in a tiny room at a boarding house on the east side, and her rent was overdue. The landlady, Miss Jenkins, had told her if she didn't pay by the end of the week, she'd have to leave. Yes, she lied. Michael noticed her hesitation and doubted her answer, but didn't press. He had learned to value privacy after everything he'd been through. Their conversation was interrupted when Amber winced in pain again, this time more intensely. Ow! She groaned, doubling over. What's wrong? Michael asked, alarmed. I don't know, she said, breathing heavily. It hurts really bad on my side. Michael stood up immediately. We're going to the hospital. No, it's fine, Amber protested. It's probably just exhaustion. 8 months pregnant women don't feel pain like this from exhaustion, Michael said firmly. I'm calling an ambulance. Please don't, Amber pleaded. I don't have health insurance. Private hospitals are too expensive. What about Medicaid? The nearest public hospital is far, and with this rain... She paused, feeling another sharp pain. I think it'll pass. Michael watched her for a few seconds, seeing clearly she was lying to herself. Listen, he said, making a decision. I'm taking you to the hospital. We're not arguing about money right now. Sir, I can't accept that, Amber protested. I don't even really know you. Michael, he said. My name is Michael Richardson. And yours? Amber Williams, she replied, surprised by the simplicity of the introduction. There, now we know each other, Michael said with a half smile. Amber, you're pregnant, in pain, and need medical attention. This isn't about charity, it's about human responsibility. Amber looked into his eyes and saw sincerity there. Still, all her life experience made her hesitate to accept help, especially from strangers. I don't like owing favors, she said. Then don't think of it as a favor, Michael replied. Think of it as one person helping another in an emergency. Another strong contraction made Amber groan again. This time she couldn't hide the intensity of the pain. All right, she agreed, defeated. But I'll pay you back, even if it takes time. Let's deal with that at the hospital, Michael said, already heading to the front desk. He asked the receptionist to call a taxi willing to drive in the rain, while Amber tried to stand from the armchair. The weight of her belly and the pain made her unsteady. Let me help, Michael offered, extending his arm. Amber reluctantly accepted his support. His touch was firm but respectful, which surprised her. She was used to men who took any opportunity for inappropriate contact. The taxi's here, the receptionist informed them. Thank you, Michael replied. They walked slowly to the entrance. Dwayne, the security guard, opened the door with a concerned expression. Are you all right, Mom? He asked. We're going to the hospital, Michael explained. Good luck, Dwayne said, and Amber noticed sincerity in his voice despite his initial gruffness. The taxi waited under the awning. The driver, a middle-aged man, looked worriedly at Amber. Mercy Medical Center? Michael asked. Sir, that's private, Amber whispered. I know, Michael replied. It's the closest and has a good maternity ward. During the ride, Amber tried to control her breathing as the contractions grew more frequent. Michael stayed silent beside her, watching her discreetly. How long have the pains been going on? He asked. Since this morning, but I thought it was normal, Amber admitted. Sometimes it just hurts. Since this morning, and you kept working? I have to work, she said simply. I can't afford to miss a day. Michael shook his head, impressed by her determination but also concerned by how little she cared for herself. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. The hospital was busy, even late at night. The maternity emergency operated around the clock, handling everything from simple cases to complex situations. At the front desk, an efficient nurse took Amber's information, while Michael stood nearby, unsure of his role in the situation. Full name? The nurse asked. Amber Williams Taylor, she replied. ID? Amber hesitated. It was in my purse. It got stolen. I only have the number memorized. The nurse jotted it down and continued with routine questions. When it came to insurance, Amber glanced at Michael, embarrassed. "I don't have any," she murmured. "Private," Michael told the nurse. "Put it on my account." "Sir, We'll talk later," Michael gently interrupted. Amber was called for triage, where a young obstetrician examined her. Michael stayed in the waiting room, trying to understand why he was getting so involved with a stranger. About 40 minutes later, the doctor came out to speak to him. "Are you the patient's husband?" "No," answered Michael. "I'm a friend who brought her in." "I see," said the doctor, hesitating over how much to reveal. "She's having contractions, but it's not active labor yet. She needs to be monitored for a few hours." "Is she okay?" "Yes, but she's very stressed and exhausted. That could trigger premature labor. We'll give her medication to relax the uterine muscles." "Can I see her?" "You can, but she needs rest." Michael entered the room where Amber lay, connected to monitors tracking her and the baby's heartbeats. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Better," Amber replied. "The doctor said it was just a scare, but the baby's fine." "Thank goodness," Michael said, sitting in the chair beside the bed. "Mr. Richardson," Amber began, "I really need to talk about the money. I can't let you pay for everything without knowing how I'll repay you." "Amber, now's not the time to worry about that." "But it is," she insisted. "You don't know me, don't know if you can trust me." Michael studied her for a moment. Ironically, her concern about the debt made him trust her more. "Do you have family here in New York?" he asked, changing the subject. "No," Amber answered. "I came from the countryside for work. I don't have anyone here." "And the baby's father?" Amber's face closed off instantly. "He isn't part of our lives anymore," she said, avoiding details. Michael realized he'd touched another sore spot. This woman carried more pain than she let on. "I'm sorry," he said. "Didn't mean to pry." "It's fine," Amber replied, though her voice was tight. A nurse entered to check her vitals. "Everything's stable," she reported. "If this continues, you can be discharged in the morning." Once the nurse left, Michael checked his watch, nearly 2 a.m. "I'll let you rest," he said, standing. "Mr. Richardson," Amber called. "Thank you, really. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't helped me." "Don't mention it," he replied. "Anyone would have done the same." "No," Amber shook her head. "They wouldn't. I know that." Michael said goodbye and left the room, but something kept him from leaving the hospital. He lingered in the waiting area, replaying their conversation. There was much he didn't know about Amber, yet his gut said she was genuine. Around 5 a.m., as dawn broke, he returned to check on her. Amber was awake, staring out the window. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked. "The baby's moving a lot," she said. "I think they felt all the stress from yesterday." "The doctor said everything's fine." "I know," Amber murmured. "It's just, I worry, after what happened with my other baby." She trailed off, realizing she'd said too much. "You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to," Michael said. Amber was silent for minutes, clearly wrestling with how much to share. "I had a baby 2 years ago," she finally said. "A girl. She didn't make it. Born too early." Michael's chest tightened. Now he understood her fear. "I'm so sorry," he said sincerely. "That's why I'm so scared," Amber continued. "I know this baby's further along, but I haven't reached 9 months yet." "Are you getting prenatal care?" "Yes, at the clinic," she said. "But it's very basic, just checkups." "And everything's been normal so far?" "It was, until now," Amber admitted. "Yesterday's doctor said I'll need more bed rest in the coming weeks." "Does that mean stopping work?" Amber sighed heavily. "I can't stop working. If I don't work, I can't pay rent or buy food. And there's no government assistance at all? I'm eligible for maternity benefits, but only after the baby is born," she explained. "Until then, I have to manage on my own." Michael Richardson grew thoughtful. Amber's situation was a cruel cycle. She needed to work to survive, but the work was putting her pregnancy at risk. "Listen," he said, "I have a proposal for you." Amber eyed him skeptically. "What kind of proposal?" "I need someone to organize some documents at my company. It's work you can do sitting down, no physical strain. It pays well, and you can go at your own pace. Mr. Richardson, you barely know me, Amber protested. Why would you do this? Because you need work that won't harm your pregnancy, and I need someone efficient, he replied. It would be a business arrangement. Amber doubted the simplicity of his explanation. And what exactly would I have to do? File organization, scanning documents, basic spreadsheets, Michael explained. Nothing too complicated. Is your company big? Mid-sized, he answered. We handle logistics and imports. Amber considered the offer. On one hand, it would solve her immediate financial troubles. On the other, she'd learn to be wary of offers that seemed too good to be true. How much would you pay? $2,000 a month, plus meal vouchers, Michael said. Amber's eyes widened. It was nearly double what she made from cleaning jobs. That's a lot of money, she said suspiciously. It's the standard pay for this type of role, Michael explained. But I don't have office experience. You can read and write well, right? Yes. No basic computer skills? Yes. I learned in a free course. Then you have enough experience, Michael said. I can teach you the rest. Amber fell silent, weighing the proposal. It seemed too perfect, which only made her more uneasy. Can I think about it? She asked. Of course, Michael replied, but don't take too long. I need someone to start next week. Just then, the doctor came in to discharge Amber. Everything's stable, she said, but I want to see you in a week for a follow-up, and remember, light activity, no excessive strain. Understood, doctor, Amber replied. Is there someone at home to help you? The doctor asked. I live alone, Amber admitted. Then it's even more important you take care, the doctor said, giving Michael a meaningful look. After the doctor left, Michael helped Amber get dressed, and they went to the front desk to settle the bill. The amount made Amber go pale, nearly $1,000 just for the emergency visit and observation. Mr. Richardson, this is too much, she murmured. It's necessary, he replied, paying without hesitation. In the taxi back, Amber stayed quiet, clearly troubled by the mounting debt. Where are we headed? Michael asked. Amber hesitated to give the address of her boarding house. It was a modest place, and she felt ashamed. You can drop me at the subway, she said. I'll take the train from there. With the doctor's orders to rest, you're going to ride a packed train? It's the only way I have. Amber, give me your address, Michael said firmly. You just got out of the hospital. Reluctantly, she gave the address of the boarding house in Flatbush. As they drove, Michael watched the urban landscape shift, moving from the upscale central district to simpler neighborhoods. The boarding house stood on a narrow street, lined with old homes and tangled electrical wires. Michael got out with Amber and walked her to the entrance. Thank you again, she said. I'll think about your offer and let you know. How will I get your answer if I don't have your number? Michael asked. Amber flushed. My phone broke last week, she admitted. I haven't had the money to fix it yet. Michael took a card from his pocket and wrote something on the back. This is my business card, he said. On the back is my personal cell number. Call me by Friday with your answer. How am I supposed to call if I don't have a phone? There's a payphone on the corner, Michael pointed out, or borrow one at the boarding house. Amber took the card and tucked it away carefully. Mr. Michael, she said, why are you helping me like this? The truth. Michael paused for a moment, searching for the answer within himself. Because everyone deserves a chance, he finally said, and because you remind me there are genuine people in this world. Amber went up to her room, a tiny space with a single bed, a small wardrobe and a sink. The bathroom was shared down the hall. She sat on the bed and looked at Michael's card. Michael Richardson, Executive Director, Richardson Logistics Inc. She picked up her broken phone and tried turning it on once more, but the screen stayed black. She slipped the card under her pillow and lay down, feeling the baby move in her belly. What do you think, little one? She whispered, stroking her stomach. Can we trust him? The next morning, Amber woke to the sound of arguing in the hallway. She immediately recognized the voice of Ms. Jenkins, the boarding house owner. Amber! The woman shouted, knocking on the door. I need to talk to you. Amber opened the door, still groggy. "Good morning, Miss Jenkins." "Good morning, nothing," grumbled the thin, perpetually sour 60-year-old. "Where were you last night? You came in at dawn." "I had to go to the hospital," Amber explained. "Hospital?" Ms. Jenkins' expression shifted slightly. "Did something happen with the baby?" "I had some contractions, but everything's fine." "That's good," said Miss Jenkins, her tone sharp again. "But that doesn't change the fact your rent is late. It's been 4 days already." "I know, Ms. Jenkins, I just need a few more days." "Not a few days," the landlady cut in. "By Friday. If you don't pay by Friday, you'll have to leave. Friday is too soon." "It's all the time I can give," said Ms. Jenkins. "There are other people interested in the room." After the woman left, Amber sat on the bed, mentally calculating her options. She only had $200 saved, and the rent was $450. Even if she worked every day until Friday, she wouldn't be able to gather enough. Michael's offer was starting to seem less suspicious and more like a lifeline. Around noon, Amber went downstairs to use the payphone on the corner. She called Michael, whose number she'd memorized. "Hello? Mr. Michael? It's Amber." "Amber, how are you feeling?" "Better, thank you." "Sir, I'd like to accept your job offer." "That's great," said Michael. "Can you start Monday?" "Yes, I can. Where's the company located?" "In Midtown. Stop by HR Monday morning and they'll get you set up and explain everything." "Mr. Michael," Amber said hesitantly, "would it be possible to get an advance? I'm having trouble with the rent." There was a pause on the other end. "How much do you need?" $450. "Come by the office this afternoon, and I'll leave the money at reception." "Thank you," said Amber, feeling immense relief. "You're saving me." "No need to thank me," Michael replied. "See you Monday." That afternoon, Amber took 2 buses to get to Midtown. Michael's company was in a modern office building, nothing like the places she was used to working. At reception, a friendly woman handed her an envelope with her name. "Mr. Michael left this for you," she said. Amber opened the envelope in the elevator. Inside were $500 and a note. "For rent and other needs. Welcome to the team, Michael." The extra $50 moved her more than it probably should have. It was a small gesture, but one that showed consideration for her troubles. Over the weekend, Amber packed her few clothes, trying to find something appropriate for office work. Her experience had always been with cleaning uniforms or old clothes. She didn't mind getting dirty. Monday came quickly. Amber woke up early, showered in the shared bathroom, and put on her best outfit, a pair of black pants and a simple white blouse she'd bought on clearance. The train and bus ride to Midtown took nearly 2 hours. Amber arrived at the company right at 8 o'clock, as agreed. At the reception desk, the same friendly woman from Friday greeted her. "Hi Amber, I'm Jennifer. Mr. Richardson explained you'd be working in the records department." "That's right," Amber replied, nervous. "Come with me and I'll show you where everything is." Jennifer led her through the company's hallways, pointing out the different departments. It was a mid-sized business with about 50 employees. "This is where you'll be working," Jennifer said, opening the door to a room with several filing shelves and 3 computer desks. "Just for me?" Amber asked, surprised. "Yes. You'll be working alone, organizing all of this," Jennifer explained, gesturing to the stacks of documents. "Mr. Richardson said you can work at your own pace, especially because of the pregnancy." Amber looked around. The room had air conditioning, a comfortable chair, and even a small fridge in the corner. "The fridge is for you to keep snacks or medicine if you need it," Jennifer said. "Wow," Amber murmured. "This is so much better than I imagined." "Mr. Richardson said you should make yourself at home. If you need anything, just call me." Jennifer explained the basic filing system and how to use the computer for scanning. It was simpler than Amber had expected. "Any questions?" Jennifer asked. "I don't think so," Amber replied. "Seems straightforward." "Then I'll let you get started. My desk is right at reception if you need me." Alone in the room, Amber began sorting through the documents that needed organizing. They were mostly invoices, contracts, and correspondence piled without any chronological order. She started by separating them by type, creating neat stacks on the desk. The work was meticulous, but not physically tiring. For the first time in months, Amber could work sitting comfortably. Around 10 o'clock, Jennifer brought her a coffee. "How's it going?" "Good," Amber said. "The organization is starting to make sense." "Great. Mr. Richardson wanted to know how you were settling in." "Is he here?" "He's in a meeting, but he asked me to check if you needed anything." "No, everything's fine." At lunchtime, Amber discovered the company had a small cafeteria where employees could heat up their meals or buy subsidized food. "Do you have a meal card?" asked the cook, a friendly older woman. "Yes," Amber replied, showing the card she'd received from HR. "First time here, huh? I'm Martha. I've worked here 15 years. I'm Amber, started today." "Welcome," Martha said, serving her a generous plate. "How far along are you?" 8 months. "Oh, you're almost there," Martha exclaimed. "My granddaughter was born at 8 months, and now she's a bright little thing." The conversation with Martha made Amber feel more relaxed. It was nice to meet someone kind and motherly in this new environment. That afternoon, Michael stopped by the records room. "How was your first day?" "Really good," Amber said. "The work is interesting and everyone's been so kind." "Great. Are you able to work seated without any issues?" "Yes, it's much more comfortable than my previous jobs." Michael observed the progress she had made organizing the documents. In half a day, Amber had managed to sort and categorize a considerable amount of paperwork. "You're very efficient," he remarked. "Thank you," Amber replied, blushing slightly. "If you ever need to leave early for a doctor's appointment, just let me know," Michael said. "Thank you for your consideration." When Michael left, Amber returned to work with a strange feeling. It was the first time in a long while she had felt valued and respected in a job. The following days passed quickly. Amber arrived promptly at 8, worked diligently until 5, and returned to the boarding house tired but satisfied. On Thursday of the first week, while scanning contracts, she found something that caught her attention: a folder with Michael's personal documents mixed in with the company files. Inside were birth, marriage, and divorce certificates. Amber tried not to read them, but the names jumped out at her: Michael Richardson and Jessica Taylor Richardson. The divorce decree was recent, just 6 months old. There were also documents for a house and a medical report. Amber recognized the letterhead. It was from the same hospital where she had been treated on that rainy night. Curiosity got the better of her, and she quickly skimmed the report. It was a medical evaluation about a pregnancy loss. The patient's name was Jessica Taylor Richardson, and the date was from a year ago. Amber's heart clenched. Michael had lost a baby too. Suddenly, his kindness toward her made even more sense. She carefully placed the documents back in the folder and set them aside to return to him. She wouldn't mention having read them, but now she understood why he had been so moved by her situation. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps those of us just starting out. Now continuing. On Friday, Michael stopped by the records room at the end of the day. "How was your first week?" he asked. "Very good," Amber replied. "Mr. Richardson, I found a folder with your personal documents mixed in with the company files." She handed it to him. Michael opened it briefly and saw the divorce papers and medical report on top. "Thank you," he said, closing it quickly. "It shouldn't have been here." "These things happen," Amber said gently. "Sometimes things get mixed up." There was an awkward silence between them. "Amber," Michael hesitated. "Did you see—" "I saw the names on the papers, but I didn't read anything," she lied kindly. "It's not my business." Michael nodded, visibly relieved. "Have a good weekend," he said. "You too." That weekend, Amber reflected on the week's discoveries. Michael was more complex than she had first imagined. He wasn't just a wealthy businessman helping someone in need. He was someone who had suffered significant losses and perhaps saw in her a chance to do something positive. Monday brought a surprise. When Amber arrived at the office, she found a new chair in her workspace, a special ergonomic chair for pregnant women. "Mr. Richardson had your chair replaced," Jennifer explained. "He said it would be better for your back." Amber was touched by the gesture. Small acts like this showed Michael truly cared about her well-being. During the second week, she settled into a comfortable routine. The work was engaging and she began suggesting improvements to the filing system. "Mr. Richardson," she said one Tuesday when he stopped by to check on her progress, "I was thinking it would be more efficient to organize the contracts by client rather than by date." "Why?" he asked, interested. "Because when someone needs to check information about a specific client, they have to search through several different folders," explained Amber. "If everything is grouped by client, it's faster." Michael analyzed the suggestion. "That makes sense," he agreed. "You can implement that change." "It'll take a bit more work at first," Amber warned. "No problem. Doing it right is more important than doing it fast." This conversation marked a shift in their relationship. Michael began to see Amber not just as someone helping out, but as a competent employee who added value to the company. That Wednesday, Amber was organizing a folder of old contracts when she found something concerning. There were several overdue invoices from an important supplier, and it seemed no one had noticed the issue. She went to the reception to speak with Jennifer. "Jennifer, I found some overdue invoices that look important. Who should I talk to?" "What kind of invoices?" Amber showed her the documents. "Wow," said Jennifer. "This is serious. You'd better speak directly with Mr. Richardson." Michael was in a meeting, but Jennifer managed to interrupt him for a few minutes. "What is it?" he asked, coming quickly. "I found these overdue invoices," explained Amber. "From what I can tell, they're from an important supplier, and some are over 60 days late." Michael looked at the documents and his expression changed immediately. "Damn," he muttered. "How did these end up in the files unpaid?" "I don't know," Amber replied. "They were mixed in with old contracts." "Thank you for finding them," said Michael. "This could have turned into a much bigger problem." He rushed off to resolve the situation, and Amber returned to work feeling useful. It was rewarding to make a meaningful contribution. By late afternoon, Michael came back to the records room. "I managed to fix the invoice issue," he said. "The supplier was about to cancel our contract. If you hadn't found this today, we would have lost a 10-year partner." "Good thing there was still time," said Amber. "Amber," Michael said, sitting in a chair beside her desk, "you saved the company from a serious problem today. How can I thank you?" "You don't have to thank me," she replied. "It's my job." "No, this went beyond your job," he insisted. "You could have just ignored those invoices or tossed them in a pile somewhere." "But that wouldn't have been right," Amber said simply. Michael studied her for a moment. Her honesty and sense of responsibility continued to impress him. "Do you have plans tonight?" he asked suddenly. Amber was surprised by the question. "Plans?" "I'd like to take you to dinner," said Michael. "As thanks for what you did today, Mr. Richardson, you don't have to—" "It's not charity," he cut in. "It's professional recognition. You deserve to be appreciated." Amber hesitated. Accepting the invitation seemed appropriate professionally, but she couldn't ignore that Michael was an attractive, successful man, and she was a pregnant woman on her own. "Would this just be a work dinner?" she asked. "Of course," Michael replied. "Nothing more than that." "Then I accept," said Amber. "But somewhere simple. I don't feel comfortable in fancy restaurants." "Do you know that pizzeria on Broadway? Joe's Pizza?" "I do." "Let's meet there at 8? "All right." When she left the office, Amber was nervous. It had been a long time since she'd gone to dinner with a man, and the whole situation felt surreal. She arrived at the pizzeria a few minutes before 8 and found a table for them. Michael arrived right on time, wearing casual clothes that made him look younger and more approachable. "Sorry I'm late," he said, even though he was punctual. "You're not late," Amber replied. "I got here early." They ordered a medium pizza and sodas. The relaxed atmosphere at Joe's Pizza helped break the initial ice. "How are you feeling with the pregnancy?" Michael asked. "Much better now that I don't have to carry heavy things," Amber answered. "Working in the office has made a huge difference. And the baby, moving around a lot." "Way too much," Amber laughed. "Especially at night. I think they'll take after their mother, a hard worker." "Or their father," Michael corrected. "True," Amber smiled. "I still don't know the gender. I didn't want to find out." "Why not?" "I don't know," she said thoughtfully. "I think I want the surprise. And also, if it's a girl, I don't want to keep thinking about the one I lost. Michael nodded understandingly. I get that completely. His tone made Amber realize he truly did understand, probably from his own experience. Michael, she said, deciding to use his first name without Mr. for the first time. Can I ask you something personal? Go ahead. Why did you help me that night in the rain? The truth. Michael was silent for a moment, picking at his pizza without eating. Because you reminded me of my mother, he finally said. When I was a kid, she went through similar things. Pregnant, alone, with no money. And your father? He left when I was 6, Michael replied. My mother got pregnant again and he just disappeared. And the baby? My brother. He was born premature and spent 2 months in the hospital. My mother worked during the day and slept at the hospital at night. Amber felt a tightness in her chest. Michael's story explained so much about him. That must have been so hard for her. It was, he confirmed. That's why when I see a pregnant woman struggling, I can't just walk away. Is your mother still alive? She is. Lives in Tampa with my brother. She remarried when I was 15 to a really good man who made her happy. That's wonderful, Amber said sincerely. What about you? Michael asked. Does your family know about the pregnancy? Amber's expression tightened slightly. My parents are alive, but we don't have a good relationship. Why not? They didn't approve of my choices, she said vaguely. When I got pregnant the first time, they said I had to get married or I wasn't their daughter anymore. And you didn't want to marry? The baby's father didn't want to take responsibility, Amber explained. So my parents kicked me out. That's when I came to New York. Michael was shocked by her parents' cruelty. And when the baby? When you lost the first pregnancy? They never even found out, Amber said, her voice strained. I went through it all alone. I'm so sorry, Michael said sincerely. And now with this pregnancy, they don't even know I'm going to be a mother again. What about this baby's father? Amber sighed heavily. It's a long story. He was married, promised he'd leave his wife for me, but when he found out I was pregnant, he disappeared. You believed he'd leave her? I wanted to believe, she admitted. It was easier than accepting I was being lied to. Michael shook his head, amazed by Amber's strength in overcoming so much disappointment. How do you keep hope after all that? Because this baby needs me, she answered, rubbing her belly. I can't give up when there's a life depending on me. The conversation was interrupted when Amber winced in pain. Are you okay? Michael asked, concerned. Just a little cramp, she said. It's normal. You sure? I'm sure. It's not like the other night. Even so, Michael stayed alert throughout the rest of the dinner, watching for any sign of discomfort from her. Thanks for dinner, said Amber when they finished eating. Thank you, replied Michael. It was good to talk. It's been a while since I've had such an honest conversation. What do you mean? In my social circle, everyone's always measuring themselves, trying to impress, he explained. With you, it's different. You tell the truth. It's the only way I know how to be, said Amber. Michael drove her back to the boarding house, and during the ride, she watched the busy streets of New York City at night. Do you like the city? He asked. I do, Amber replied. It's tough, but there are opportunities. Back in the small town where I was born, I wouldn't have been able to support myself. Where are you from? Scranton, she answered. A small town where everyone knows everyone, not a place for someone looking to start over. When they arrived at the boarding house, Michael got out to walk her to the door. Thanks again, said Amber. You're welcome, he replied. See you Monday. Michael, she called before going inside. Can I ask you one more thing? Sure. Are you afraid to trust people? The question caught him off guard. Why do you ask? Because sometimes I notice you're cautious with me, like you're waiting for me to do something wrong. Michael was silent for a few seconds. Yeah, he admitted. I am. I've been burned before. Your ex-wife? Among others, he answered vaguely. I get it, said Amber. I'm scared to trust too, but sometimes the risk is worth it. Sometimes, Michael agreed. Amber went inside, and Michael sat in the car for a few minutes, thinking about their conversation. It had been a long time since he'd felt so connected to someone. Over the weekend, Amber took the time to rest and organize her few belongings. She bought some basic baby clothes with part of her paycheck, and for the first time in months, she felt hopeful about the future. Monday brought more surprises. When Amber arrived at the company, she found Jennifer waiting for her with an excited smile. "Good morning, Amber. Mr. Richardson wants to see you before you start work." "Did something happen?" "I don't know," Jennifer replied. "He just said to go to his office when you got in." Amber went up to the executive floor, nervous. She knocked on Michael's office door. "Come in," he said. The office was spacious and elegant, with a large desk, bookshelves, and a beautiful view of the city. "Good morning," said Amber. "Good morning, have a seat," said Michael, pointing to a comfortable chair in front of the desk. "Did I do something wrong?" she asked, worried. "Quite the opposite," Michael replied. "I want to make you an offer." "What kind of offer?" "You've been doing really well at work," he began. "Your efficiency and improvement suggestions have caught the whole team's attention." "Thank you," said Amber, unsure where this was going. "I'm thinking of creating a new position at the company, Records and Documentation Coordinator," Michael explained. "You'd be responsible not just for organizing documents, but also creating systems to prevent issues like those overdue invoices." Amber's eyes widened. "Coordinator?" "With a coordinator's salary," said Michael, $3,500 plus benefits." "Michael, that's a lot of money," Amber stammered. "It's a fair wage for the role," he replied. "Do you accept?" "Yes, I do," said Amber, still in shock. "But are you sure I can handle it?" "Absolutely sure," Michael affirmed. "You have a natural organizational sense and a responsibility that many employees with degrees don't have." "Thank you for trusting me," said Amber, moved. "The promotion starts today," said Michael. "Jennifer will show you your new office." "New office?" "A bigger office just for you, with a meeting table," he explained. "You'll need to train other employees on the new systems you create." Amber left Michael's office floating with happiness. In less than a month, her life had completely changed. The new office was on the same floor as the executive suite, 3 times bigger than the file room, and had windows overlooking the city. There was an executive desk, a new computer, and even a small sofa. "This used to be the old financial manager's office before he retired," Jennifer explained. "Mr. Richardson had it completely renovated for you." "I can't believe it," murmured Amber, looking around. "You deserve it," said Jennifer. "Everyone at the company is talking about how competent and dedicated you are." During her first week in the new position, Amber focused on creating an organizational system that could be used company-wide. She made spreadsheets, manuals, and presentations. Michael stopped by her office daily to check on her progress and discuss ideas. These conversations became Amber's favorite part of the day. "How are you feeling about all the changes?" he asked one Thursday. "Good," replied Amber. "A little nervous, but good." "Why nervous?" "I'm afraid I won't meet expectations," she admitted. "Amber, you've already exceeded every expectation," said Michael. "You have nothing to worry about." "Thank you," she said, smiling. Michael paused near the office window. "Have you ever thought about going to college?" he asked. "Yes," Amber replied, "but I never had the means." "The company offers scholarships for employees," said Michael. "If you're interested, I can look into available programs." "Really?" "Really. You have the potential to go much further in your career." Amber felt her eyes well up. No one had ever seen potential in her beyond cleaning. "I'd love to study," she said. "Then we'll make it happen," Michael replied. That evening, Amber called Michael from the payphone on the corner. "Hi, Michael." "Hi, Amber. Everything okay?" "I just wanted to thank you again for everything you're doing for me," she said. "I've told you, no need to thank me." "But I want to," she insisted. "You've completely changed my life." "You're the one who changed your life," Michael corrected. "I just offered opportunities. You're the one who took them." "Still," said Amber, "I was wondering, would you like to have dinner with me on Saturday? I'll cook." "You want to cook for me?" "Yes," Amber said. "It's the only way I can repay even a little of your kindness." "Amber, you don't owe me anything." "I know," she said, "but I want to." Will you come? Michael hesitated for a few seconds. I'd love to, he finally said. Great, Amber replied, smiling. Saturday at 8? Perfect. Saturday came quickly. Amber spent the entire morning preparing dinner in her tiny boarding house room. Cooking with just a small stove and a tiny sink was a challenge, but she was determined. She made chicken lasagna, salad, and bought a pie for dessert. She set the small table with a clean cloth and even borrowed a few candles from Ms. Jenkins. Michael arrived promptly at 8, carrying a bottle of grape juice. For the expecting mama, he said, handing her the bottle. Thank you, Amber replied, letting him in. Michael glanced around the tiny room. It was clean and tidy, but obviously too small for one person, let alone a pregnant woman. Your place is cozy, he said diplomatically. You can say it's small, Amber laughed. I know it is. It's small, Michael admitted, but very well kept. They sat at the table and Amber served the lasagna. Wow, Michael said after taking a bite. This is delicious. Where did you learn to cook like this? My grandmother taught me, answered Amber. She was the only one in the family who understood me. Is she still alive? No, Amber said sadly. She passed when I was 16. That's when things got harder at home. Would she have supported you in this pregnancy? Absolutely, Amber replied without hesitation. Grandma Mary always said a baby is a blessing no matter how they come. During dinner, they talked about family, work, and future plans. The atmosphere was relaxed and intimate. Amber, Michael said as they were eating dessert, can I ask you something personal? Of course. Don't you think this room is too small for you and the baby? Amber sighed. I do, she admitted, but it's what I can afford right now. When the baby comes, I'll have to see if I can find something bigger. What if I helped you look for a better place? Michael, you've already done so much for me. Not as charity, he clarified. As a loan. You'd pay me back little by little. Amber was tempted, but her instinct for independence spoke louder. Thank you, but I'd rather manage on my own, she said. I need to prove to myself that I can. Michael admired her determination, even if he disagreed with the decision. I understand, he said, but if you change your mind... I'll think about it, Amber promised. After dinner, they stayed talking on the small couch, Amber with her feet up to ease the swelling in her legs. How are you feeling with the pregnancy almost over? Michael asked. Nervous, Amber replied. Happy but scared too. Scared of what? Of not being a good mother, she admitted. Of not being able to give the baby everything they need. Amber, you're going to be a wonderful mother, Michael said with conviction. How can you be so sure? Because I see how you commit to everything you do, he explained. At work, in life, with people. You have a generous heart and incredible strength. Amber felt her eyes well up. Thank you, she whispered. It's true, Michael insisted. Just then, the baby kicked hard, and Amber winced. Ouch, she exclaimed, putting a hand on her belly. What happened? The baby kicked, Amber laughed. They're very active today. Can I feel? Michael asked hesitantly. Amber paused for a second, then nodded. Michael placed his hand gently on her belly and waited. Seconds later, the baby kicked again. Wow, Michael murmured, moved. That's amazing. You're the first person besides me to feel them move, Amber said softly. The moment was interrupted when the baby gave a series of stronger kicks. I think they liked your hand, Amber teased. Or she, Michael corrected, pulling his hand away. Or she, Amber agreed. The mood grew more intimate after that. Michael looked at her differently, more tenderly. Amber, he said quietly. Yes. Can I tell you something? Go ahead. You remind me that there are good things in life, he said. It's been a long time since I've felt that. Because of your divorce. Because of everything, Michael replied. The divorce, losing the baby, the betrayals. I was lost for a while. And now? Now I feel like maybe life is worth betting on again. Amber's heart raced. The conversation was heading somewhere she hadn't expected. Michael, she said carefully, You know my situation is complicated, right? I'm 8 months pregnant, alone, no family. I know, he said. And that doesn't change how I feel. How do you feel? Michael hesitated, clearly wrestling with himself. Affection, he finally said. A lot of affection for you. Amber fell silent, processing his words. Michael, she said eventually, I feel affection for you too, but I'm afraid. Afraid of what? Of getting involved with someone at this point in my life, she explained. I'm vulnerable, dependent on your help. I don't want our feelings to get confused. I understand, said Michael. I don't want to pressure you. It's not pressure, said Amber. It's just, I need to be sure of my feelings, and you need to be sure of yours too. I am sure, said Michael. Are you? Or are you feeling protective because of my situation? The question made Michael pause. It was a possibility he hadn't considered. I don't know, he admitted honestly. That's why I think we should take it slow, said Amber. No rush, no pressure. All right, agreed Michael. Whatever you want. They sat in silence for a few minutes, both lost in thought. Thank you for dinner, said Michael as he stood to leave. Thank you for the company, replied Amber. See you Monday. See you. After Michael left, Amber stayed awake for hours, thinking about their conversation. She had been honest about her feelings and fears, but that didn't make the situation any less complicated. On Monday, the atmosphere at work was slightly awkward. Michael stopped by her office as usual, but both were more reserved. Good morning, he said. Good morning, replied Amber. How was your Sunday? Fine. Yours? Fine too. The forced formality continued for a few days until Thursday, when Amber decided to break the ice. Michael, she said when he passed by her office, are you regretting our talk on Saturday? No, he answered. Why do you ask? Because you've been different with me. Michael sighed. I'm trying to respect what you said about taking it slow. Taking it slow doesn't mean we have to be strangers, said Amber. We can still be friends. Friends, repeated Michael. All right. From that day on, the tension eased, and they returned to natural conversations. Amber kept working on her projects at the company, and Michael continued supporting her initiatives. In the last week of September, Amber began noticing changes in her body that signaled the baby's arrival was near. The baby had dropped lower, and she felt pressure in her pelvis. How are you feeling? Michael asked one Friday afternoon. Strange, replied Amber. I think the baby's dropping. Is that normal? Yes, it means they're getting ready to be born. And are you ready? Mentally, yes, said Amber. Financially too, thanks to the new salary. I just need to handle the practical stuff. What practical stuff? A crib, stroller, baby clothes, she listed. I'll go shopping this weekend. Want company? Michael offered. I know as much about strollers as you do, but I can carry the bags. Amber laughed. Sure, you can come, she said. It'll be good to have a second opinion. Saturday morning, they met at a mall on the east side near the boarding house. Amber had chosen a more affordable place than the downtown malls. Where do we start? Asked Michael. Let's look at cribs first, said Amber. In the baby furniture store, Amber was surprised by the variety and prices. There were simple, functional cribs for $200 and luxurious ones that cost more than her monthly salary. This one's fine, she said, pointing to a plain white crib. Are you sure? Asked Michael. This other one has more features. Michael, the baby just needs a safe place to sleep, said Amber. It doesn't have to be fancy, but it could be more comfortable, he insisted. It'll be plenty comfortable, Amber said firmly. At least compared to what I had as a baby. Michael realized he was imposing his financial standards on her and backed off. You're right, he said. I'm sorry. They bought the simple crib, a good mattress, and some sheets. At the children's clothing store, Amber was equally practical, choosing basic and functional pieces. Don't you want to know the gender to buy the clothes? Asked Michael. I prefer neutral colors, replied Amber. Yellow, green, white. Works for a boy or a girl. At the baby stroller store, Michael got more excited. This one is really good, he said, showing a stroller with various accessories. "It has cup holders, a large basket underneath, a canopy, and it costs $800, said Amber, looking at the price tag. "This one here for $200 has good wheels and is sturdy. It works perfectly." "But, Michael," Amber gently interrupted, "you're being kind, but I don't need a luxury stroller. I need one that works." He nodded, understanding the message. By the end of their shopping, they had spent about $700, all within the budget Amber had planned. "Thanks for coming with me," she said as they loaded the purchases into the car. "It was fun," replied Michael. "I've never bought baby stuff before." "Neither have I," admitted Amber. "Last time, the baby didn't make it." Michael looked at her warmly. "This one will be just fine," he said. "I hope so," replied Amber. When they arrived at the boarding house, Michael helped carry all the purchases up to the room. The space felt even tighter with the crib assembled. "Where are you going to put all your things?" he asked, concerned. "I'll figure it out," said Amber. "It's only for a little while." Michael was tempted to insist again that she accept help to rent a bigger place, but held back. "If you change your mind about accepting help with the rent..." "I know," said Amber. "Thank you." On Monday, Amber had a prenatal appointment during work hours. Michael had given her permission to leave early. The doctor at the clinic examined Amber and confirmed the baby was in position to be born. "It could happen any day now," said the doctor. "How many weeks are you?" 37, replied Amber. "Perfect. After 37 weeks, the baby is fully developed. If you go into labor, you won't need neonatal ICU." "What a relief," said Amber. "Do you have a support person for the delivery?" Amber hesitated. She hadn't thought about that. "No," she replied. "It would be good to have someone you trust," said the doctor. "It helps a lot during labor." After the appointment, Amber returned to the company deep in thought. The question of a support person for the delivery bothered her. She didn't have anyone close enough to ask. "How was the appointment?" asked Michael when she returned. "Good," replied Amber. "The doctor said it could happen any time." "And are you ready?" "I think so," she said. "There's just one thing worrying me." "What?" "The doctor asked if I have someone to be with me during delivery," explained Amber. "I don't have anyone." Michael was thoughtful for a few seconds. "I can go with you," he offered. "Michael, you're not even family," protested Amber. "So what?" he said. "You shouldn't go through this alone." "But it's very personal," said Amber, blushing. "You'll see." "Amber, I want to be there for you," Michael said seriously. "If you'll let me." Amber was moved by the offer. "Are you sure?" "Absolutely sure." "Then I accept," she said. "Thank you." "No need to thank me," replied Michael. "That's what friends do for each other." The word friends hung oddly between them. Both knew what they felt for each other had gone beyond friendship, but neither was ready to address it openly. That Wednesday, Amber began feeling mild contractions at work. At first she thought they were the baby's normal movements, but gradually she realized they were coming at regular intervals. She glanced at the clock. The contractions were coming every 15 minutes. She walked into Michael's room. "Michael," she said, trying to stay calm, "I think I'm going into labor." Michael stood up immediately. "Are you sure?" "The contractions have been regular for an hour," Amber replied. "Let's go to the hospital," Michael said, already grabbing the car keys. "It's still early," Amber said. "The doctor told me to go only when the contractions are 5 minutes apart." "But are you sure it's labor?" "Yes," Amber answered, wincing as another contraction hit. Michael watched her for a few seconds and made a decision. "We're going to the hospital now," he said. "I'd rather be early than too late." "Okay," Amber agreed, realizing she was more nervous than she'd admitted. Michael asked Jennifer to cancel all his appointments and took Amber to the same hospital where she'd been treated on the night of the rain. On the way, Amber's contractions grew stronger and more frequent. "Breathe deeply," Michael said, holding her hand during a particularly intense contraction. "It hurts more than I expected," Amber moaned. "We'll be there soon," Michael reassured her. At the hospital, they went straight to maternity. The nurse who greeted them recognized Amber. "Hi, you're back," she said with a smile. "This time for real?" "I think so," Amber replied between contractions. The exam confirmed she was in active labor, 4 centimeters dilated. It'll still be a few hours, the obstetrician explained, but the baby is in a good position and the heartbeat is normal. Amber was admitted to a maternity room and Michael stayed by her side, holding her hand through each contraction. "Thank you for being here," she said during a break between the pain. "There's nowhere else I'd rather be," Michael answered sincerely. The hours passed slowly. The contractions grew more intense and closer together. Michael never left Amber's side, offering words of encouragement and helping her with breathing exercises. "I don't know if I can do this," Amber said during an especially strong contraction. "You can," Michael said firmly. "You're the strongest person I know." "I'm scared," she admitted. "It's okay to be scared," Michael said. "But you're not alone. I'm right here with you." Around 10 at night, the obstetrician examined Amber again. "You're fully dilated," she announced. "It's time to go to the delivery room." Amber was wheeled to the delivery room in a wheelchair, with Michael walking beside her. "Sir, will you be joining for the delivery?" the nurse asked. Michael looked at Amber, who nodded weakly. "I will," he answered. In the delivery room, Amber focused on following the doctor's instructions. Michael stayed by her head, holding her hand and whispering words of encouragement. "I can see the head," the obstetrician announced. "One more push, Amber." "I can't do it anymore," Amber groaned, exhausted. "Yes, you can," Michael said. "You're almost there. Our baby is almost here." With one final effort, Amber pushed, and seconds later they heard the loud, healthy cry of their baby. "It's a girl," the doctor announced, lifting the baby for them to see. Amber burst into tears of relief and joy. Michael was emotional too, awed by the strength and courage he'd just witnessed. "She's perfect," Amber whispered, as they placed the baby in her arms. The little girl was small but healthy, with dark hair like her mother's and big eyes that seemed to take in everything around her. "What will you name her?" the nurse asked. "Hope," Amber said without hesitation. "Hope Marie, after my grandmother." Michael smiled. The name was perfect. "Hi, Hope," he whispered, gently touching the baby's tiny hand. In the following days, Michael visited Amber and Hope every day at the hospital. He brought flowers, fruit, and talked with Amber about caring for the baby. "How are you feeling?" he asked on the 3rd day. "Tired but happy," Amber replied. "She's perfect, Michael. Thank you for being there." "It was an honor," Michael said. "You were amazing." "And now," Amber asked, "what happens when we leave the hospital?" "What do you mean?" "I'll have to take care of her all alone in that tiny room," Amber explained. "I'm a little nervous." "Amber," Michael said, sitting beside the bed, "I have a proposal for you." "What proposal?" "Would you like to come stay at my house for a while?" Amber looked at him in surprise. "At your house?" "Yes," Michael said. "I have a big house with plenty of rooms. You and Hope can stay in the guest room until you find a suitable place." "Michael, it would be practical," he interrupted. "You'd have space for the crib, for the baby's things, and I could help at night if you need it." "But what will people think?" "Who cares what people think?" Michael replied. "What matters is you and Hope being comfortable." Amber hesitated. The offer was tempting, but also complicated. "What if it doesn't work out?" she asked. "If it doesn't, you find another place," Michael said simply. "No pressure, no strings attached." "Are you sure you want this?" Amber asked. "Newborns cry a lot, wake up at night." "I'm sure," Michael affirmed. "I want to help you and Hope." Amber looked down at her sleeping daughter in her arms and made a decision. "Okay," she said. "I accept, but only temporarily." "Temporarily," Michael agreed, smiling. End of story. Now tell us what you thought of this touching story about Amber and Michael. Do you believe love can blossom from the most unexpected situations? Share your thoughts in the comments and your own experiences about generosity and second chances. Thank you for joining us on this heartfelt journey.